Tony, clearly a highly praised and accomplished student, had a wife who was notorious for her infidelity. When faced with his wife's sudden betrayal, he didn't expose her right away. Instead, he decided to punish her in the most cruel way possible. He asked his wife to accompany him to China for research work. At that time, the country was in the midst of an outbreak of chaos. The wife, hearing this, believed it was an obvious trap to push her to the edge, so she decisively refused Tony's unreasonable request. However, Tony warned her that if she didn't go, he would divorce her, citing her affair as the reason. When the woman found out that her secret was exposed, she showed no remorse, not even a hint of shame. Instead, she demanded Tony support her and her lover's relationship. To make his wife realize the consequences of her actions, Tony proposed that if the lover would immediately marry her, they could part ways peacefully. If not, the wife would have no choice but to go to China with him. At this point, the wife was confident that her lover would marry her immediately. But what she received instead was her lover distancing himself. It was at that moment that the wife realized how foolish she had been. She then reluctantly agreed to Tony's terms. To punish his wife's unfaithfulness, Tony made her endure nearly 15 days of mosquito bites and the hardships of sleeping in the wilderness. Eventually, they arrived at a rundown mud hut. Inside was a complete mess, and on the yellowing bedsheets were creepy dolls. As night fell, Tony feigned kindness and reminded his wife that if she was afraid, he could give her a vaccine. But perhaps out of spite, she confidently declared she didn't need his so-called concern. The next day, Tony contacted the team leader and together they boarded a boat to the village to assess the outbreak. Upon seeing the clinic in the village filled with patients suffering from vomiting and diarrhea, Tony became desperate to find the source of the plague. But due to the language barrier and the locals' reluctance to cooperate, he faced constant resistance. The team leader had to send another soldier to ensure the safety of Tony and his wife. Meanwhile, the wife wasn't idle. She wrote a reconciliation letter to her lover and had the soldier send it for her. Unintentionally, she learned from the soldier that her lover was a scoundrel. Upon returning home, the wife tore up the letter. All of her grievances and shame burst out at that moment. At dinner, the wife attempted to have a serious conversation with Tony, but Tony was completely focused on researching cholera solutions. Her frustration grew to the point where she almost broke down. She decided to leave, but as soon as she stepped outside, she saw the lifeless body of a villager who had died from the cholera outbreak.